Hello and welcome to an autumn version of my vlogs. This time it's a November version and it's all about making compost. I must admit, I think I have a bit of an obsession about making compost, and this is now my 9th heap that I'll have ready for spring, and I'm under the impression that you can never have too much compost. Yeah, so basically this is a quick how-to, the ingredients I use and what to do. Let's crack on. And I want to show you how I mix it, how I use different mixes to get hot compost in a fairly short time, preparing for spring applications. I'm going to show you the ingredients, how I go about mixing them, and a few little bits along the way. Right, the first thing you'll probably ask yourself is, why the hell are you making it in a Dalek inside a compost bin? Well, the simple reason is the compost bin has seen far better days. It needs replacing. I just don't have the time or the energy to do that at the moment, so I'm making it in this Dalek instead. Right, so ingredients. Well, inevitably there is grass. There's lots of grass. Lots of grass. I only got a small amount of leaves because they can be a bit awkward to hot compost. It's not necessarily hot compost, I know, but there you go. That's what I want to show today. My main ingredient for the brown side will be bracken. This lovely stuff here. Now this was a devil to collect this today. Whilst I'm celebrating because the grass is living green and growing, the bracken was as well, and it didn't want to give up its bounty very much. Right, another couple of browns that I've got is garden browns. These are agapanthus stems. Garden browns will become much more numerous for the spring makings of compost. And then the other one obviously is shredded paper. Now then, there is a body of thought that says you really shouldn't add commercial paper to your compost pile, not because it's not any good, but because it's adding chemicals from the bleaching and manufacturing process. Same with cardboard. There is chemicals in cardboard, but I tend to come from the approach of, I'm part of modern society. It's my waste, or at least it's from people that have sent me rubbish like bills. So I should take care of it. Landfill, I don't know, I just don't think it's the right thing to always dump on landfill. I know everybody else does, but you can only live by your own morals, can't you? Same with cardboard. I'll happily add cardboard at very small amounts, I've got to admit, but it's my waste. It's my duty to recycle those products. Along with recycling is another ingredient, which is garden weeds and tomato stems and a bunch of flowers from the garden. A lot of tomato stems, they'll all go in, and then there's lots of weeds. Weeds galore here. These will all go in, make a lovely green addition. More weeds, lot of soil on. These go in first on the base, I think. And then last but not least is this bucket of shredded sweet corn stems and pepper plants. So there we are. That's where we're coming from today. Here we go then, let's get going. So to start the process, I want to sift out the bracken. Unfortunately on site the wind is beating me. Too much noise is coming through the microphone, so I'm recording this at home. So what the idea is, this is a rough sieve, quite wide spaces between the metal. It's just designed to pass the smaller stuff straight through the screen, and then this rougher stuff gets put aside for use later on, or resifted, whichever the case may be. And it's just a matter of working through the bags of bracken, going through this process, keeping any brittle bits like that, because that'll rot down lovely, and unfortunately this time there is green weeds amongst it all, so it's not as clean as it would be in the spring. Usually it is a lot better, this, including normally not any nettles. So there you have it. And then once we've sifted it, we've got a bag of the rough stuff, which will break down and be used in the springtime. That will either be used, it'll be further sifted, and then it will be used for mulching the potatoes. Nothing gets wasted. This is the lovely stuff we end up with. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. Really well on the way anyway. So here we go. Here's the process of filling up the bin. Now then, first of all, I'd like to point out that I'll do pre-mix the grass and the bracken together, because it's good to get those two constituents fairly well mixed up. It's just a matter of turning it over in the wheelbarrow till you roughly got a good mix. It's not too thorough, it's just an approximate mix. When you put it inside the darnick, that will further help the mix. A good replacement for bracken, for most of the people, because bracken's a bit of a specialist thing, would be wood shavings. Absolutely brilliant wood shavings. They hold moisture and nutrients very well. They tend not to break down as quick, but they tend to hold the nutrients very well. Notice I'm not saying wood chippings. Wood chippings are too big, and they take too much nitrogen to start the compost. There goes the first bucket of the soil laden weeds that I mentioned. That can go right in the bottom. And then this process is about adding the layers in good amounts, say 2/3 of the wheelbarrow in one go. There we are. And then add in small sections of the other material. Nothing too much. I'm not adding layers. I want people think you've got to layer up like a lasagna. It's not really about that. It's about trying to get it all mixed together if you can. I'm trying to beat the rain here, so it's a bit of a battle. Not too many leaves in one go. They're not fantastic for the heat side of it. Great finished product, but yeah. There we are. Oops. Nearly went. Yeah, so keep on bunging all those ingredients in right at the top. When you add the tomato stems and that, because they're large, very big air gaps, make sure that you push the grass clippings and wood shavings, if you've got them, or bracken bits, down amongst them, because that clump of tomato stems will produce too many gaps and work against you. So there's things like that to be made aware of. And again, you're trying to balance out the amount of greens that you put in with the amount of browns. It will all shrink down in the end. What you will find is this heap will reduce by perhaps 50%. It's quite surprising sometimes how much it does shrink in the first week or so. And of course we will revisit this pile, and I will start turning it, and I will take the temperature when I come to turn it and put that onto this video as well, as I hope. Now then, as you see, I've got too much materials for the bin, so I will probably scoop off the top, because I don't want waste, and as I say, it will shrink. So if it's outside the bin, it shouldn't start decomposing, heating up or anything like that, and we can always add it to the pile later on. Yeah, Mike, that just isn't going to work, is it? That's going to have to come off of there, because it's just too much. Physics alone says that ain't going to fit. Anyway, so The one thing you haven't shown me, I haven't shown you too much, is the water going in. I've added a couple buckets of water as I've gone along. It's quite important, the moisture level, because all the dry ingredients have got to be kept moist, because it's not going to heat up without a good deal of moisture. And there we are, completo. Now I just want to make a couple of quick notes on the collection of materials. Firstly, if you're collecting leaves, try and collect them from the tarmac areas rather than woods, because you're just damaging local ecology if you choose to go to the woods to collect the leaves. There are plenty around on tarmac, it really isn't needed. If you're worried about the ecological impact of bracken collection, bracken's an invasive species that really does overtake grassland, and here in this nature reserve they're trying to remove the tops to reduce the amount of bracken that's grown, and by removing the dead thatch underneath, it allows the grass to grow. As you can see in this photograph, this was all bracken up until this last year, and both our efforts have reduced the bracken considerably. So here we are on a very bright and breezy day, 48 hours later, and the temperature is well and truly up. So with a temperature of 70 degrees achieved within the first 48 hours, I've now got to try and turn it all. As you can see, it's well and truly hot. The interior is gone a nice grey colour already. That's very fast, and it's just the outer layer that's retained its green, or at least the grass has retained its green. And it's a matter of making the space within the pile so that I can put the Dalek back on, and then turn the inside of the Dalek around in a circle, basically, to constantly refill the gap. It's a way of not completely turning the pile and yet still moving the compost around so the oxygen gets into it. Yeah, it's a bit of a faff, but it takes 10 minutes at the most. This space that I'm working in is pretty ridiculous. And then the third that you've taken out goes back in again. It's as simple as that. And then I'll re-wet the top part so that moisture is maintained. And there we are, all done. Right, so just to finish this video, this is a clip taken back in the spring. It's of the area where I collect the bracken, and it's just to emphasize the point of how much the bracken dampens down all other growth. Thank you very much for joining me on another video. I hope to see you next one. Hopefully you found this useful. Please like and subscribe if you did. Any comments are welcome in the section below. Enjoy your gardening, and let's get through the winter together.